about today. For 10 minutes, I'm just going to chat a little bit about practical things you can do. Having an agenda, planning your lessons around skills rather than games, or but focusing really on what the kids are going to be able to do at the end of the lesson. Getting kids talking about your subject, and we'll talk about using breakout rooms and using a teaching method called Think, Pair, Share to do that. And we'll talk about a program called Kahoot. And then for the last 5 minutes of my presentation, we're actually going to play a Kahoot so that you'll get a feel for how much fun it really is. So I feel like it's really easy for chess teachers to be very teacher focused. And there are a few reasons for this. One is because chess is inherently sort of difficult. And unlike some things like, if you're teaching photography or you're teaching writing, people inherently have sort of a way to access that, right? Everyone can see and make visual aesthetic judgments, and everyone can read and communicate through language. But chess is really a learned skill. And because of that, I feel like as chess teachers, we sometimes center ourselves because we're the ones giving the knowledge. But that's not very much fun for the kids. And we need to think of ways to make it more about their experience and less about our lesson planning. And I think it's incredibly hard in a pandemic to know what the experience of the student is like, right? We've all been students in classrooms, but none of us have been like 11-year-olds locked in their house for 6 months, expected to learn just from a computer 6 hours a day. And that's crazy hard for me at least, to picture and to relate to. And because it becomes so teacher focused, it can be very hard for kids to focus for a long time and to really be paying attention. It's also very hard to trust students when they're not in your classroom and you can't see them, right? When I teach, I'm not allowed to require children to turn their videos on. And it's very hard to teach to black boxes because you don't know if they're there. You don't know if they're bored. You don't know if they already get this. You don't know if they're watching a movie. And so it's very hard to teach without getting that kind of feedback. And because of that, I think we all make our lessons sort of about our lessons rather than about the experience the child is having. So what can we do about that? One thing that I found is really, really important online is to tell children exactly what is going to happen, because this allows them to manage their attention better. If you know you're going to listen to someone talk for 10 minutes and then you're going to play a game for 5 minutes, it's not this long, when is this going to end feeling, right? So I like to give an agenda. I like to say, we're going to do this for 10 minutes, and then you're going to practice this for 10 minutes. When I design lessons, and you know what, I'm sorry, I think I give some examples of that on the next slide. Yeah. So for example, if I'm teaching a lesson on open files, it's really important for me to tell the kids what I'm teaching them and why, right? So I would say beforehand, we're going to have a lesson on open files, and there are going to be 5 techniques that I want you to pay attention to. And then I would go through and, my bad. And give an example of each, right? We'll look at a position where you double or triple heavy pieces on a file, and you have to be thoughtful about that. And then I'll say, now we're going to look at an example where we're going to use an outpost to double rooks. Now we're going to look at an example where we control the open file by controlling the endpoint. But I think online teaching makes it even more important that we're really upfront and we repeat over and over again what it is we want the children to learn, because we need that cooperation, right? We need them to be like actively engaged and paying attention. We can't just rely on the fact that they're in the classroom and they have nothing else to do. Examples of agendas. So I might say to a class, we're going to look at 4 really tricky and beautiful examples of discovered attacks. And then you're going to practice discovered attacks in a Kahoot. So they know that how long they're going to have to be patient with me teaching the lesson, right? 4 examples. I might say, I'm going to show you how to checkmate with a rook. Then we will practice it once together. And then you will go to Chess Kid and practice it against the computer until you're successful. Right? So I've laid out at the very beginning of the lesson exactly what they can expect, exactly what they're trying to learn, and exactly how patient they need to be with me. All right, going back a sec. Focusing on skills, I sort of talked about that, right? The child has to feel like they're getting something out of the lesson. Really often, I see chess teachers teaching, and they'll be showing a game, and they'll be doing a great job of explaining it. But they're just showing a game, and I have no idea what I'm trying to learn from it, right? And so how much are your kids really getting from that? Even if you explain it incredibly well, if you don't start out by focusing their attention on what they need to be taking away, they won't necessarily be taking that away. And then finally, there has to be a practice component, right? Your lesson can't be, I'm going to show this game and that's it, right? You have to think what skill, and when I was a student teacher, when I went through teacher training, we always had to write swab it, right? Students will be able to. And it's sort of, it's a silly acronym in some sense, but it really, if that's what you're thinking about whenever you're planning your lessons, then you'll really stick to a lesson where the kids take something away, right? What can the kids do at the end of the lesson they couldn't do before? What value are you adding to your students? And if you're just showing them a game, it's not clear to me that you're adding any value other than like they're listening to your voice.
Das trainiere ich Dauerschaft. Was soll ich sonst? Ich trainiere hier nicht hoch, weil den Läuferschaft. Hier zwischenschlagen müssen, das Schachtelbar sägen und Kopfen. Ja, aber das, was für heute gut sein.
Could I ask you to mute?
Habe ich ja gar nicht, so ähnlich so habe ich auch die letzte Online-Partie verloren. Ja. Einfach,
I'm sorry, really
if you mute everybody and unmute.
Yes, I'm doing right now.
All
Yes.
right, thank you so much.
Mm-hmm.
So a teaching technique that I love to use in remote learning is think, pair, share. And think, pair, share is a teaching technique where children tackle something individually first. Like maybe you give them a worksheet and they work on it for the first third of the class. My classes are 45 minutes, so they would work on it for 15 minutes individually. Then you put them in a breakout room and they go over the answers with a friend. And then for the last 15 minutes, I go over the answers with them as a big group. And this teaching technique is wonderful for online learning for a few reasons. So instead of one kid answering the question, every single child in the class is discussing every single problem, right? You're getting complete engagement. A breakout room on Zoom. I'm sorry, I didn't realize you guys didn't know. I would put you in breakout rooms to give you a problem. A breakout room, you can put children in a separate room where it's just, and you choose who it is. It could be one, it could be 2 kids, it could be 5 kids, it could be half a group. And they have privacy and can talk to each other. They can also share their screens with each other. They can have their videos on. It's like a Zoom meeting within a Zoom meeting. Yeah, so that's an interesting question. I don't give them a platform to analyze on because we don't really have enough time. So they're discussing the problems just with, do you think it's rook g5? No, then I can take with my knight. They're not actually analyzing. Yeah, I wrote some of this in an article. Thank you for sharing. They're not actually moving the pieces on a board, mostly because that's kind of, it just takes time. And in my short classes, I don't have time. I kind of like that they're talking about the moves because I think there's some visualization there that they have to do. Using think, pair, share means that everybody is engaged. It means that the kids get some human interaction, which is very nice, in these times. But it also means that the joy of the social interaction adds to like peer pressure for them to do that work, right? Because if they go in the breakout room and they haven't done anything in the first 15 minutes, then their partner is disappointed that they're not helping, right? So it motivates kids. It's fun. And thank you. I'm going to get to that about unsupervised kids, because I feel very strongly philosophically about that. You can also pair kids very cleverly or very thoughtfully and intentionally, so that I have like new students who are very talented, and I pair them with my most experienced students because I know that they're going to get a lot out of working with them. I pair my struggling students with my kindest students, right? So that kids who are like, I don't know how to do any of this, then I'll pair them with someone nice who'll be like, oh, let me help you. And this way you get a huge number of kids teaching other kids and essentially doing our jobs for us. Yeah, so Think, Pair, Share is wonderful. It gets everyone participating, gets everyone talking. I've heard this, what if children show each other pornography in the breakout room? What if children don't do their work, they just laugh and talk about nothing else? They're in their homes. You can't control them. We have to accept that. There is no way that you can control what they do. When I teach, their screens are off. I don't even know if they're there. They could be watching a movie. They could be. I had one kid actually lifting weights during my class, and he was all the way across the room, but what am I going to say? I bounce from breakout room to breakout room. So I do know who's working and who's not. I also ask kids at the end, if your breakout partner was not helpful, please let me know and I won't put you with them again. But you have to trust that the kids are going to be engaged by chess. And if you treat them like, I expect that if I give you interesting work that you won't do it, then you're teaching them that chess is not interesting and that they're not learners who are self-motivated. Like if you have to model trusting that they're motivated chess lovers. And if you treat them like they're little kids who won't do independent work, then they will never learn to do independent work. And we're sort of failing them, I feel like, as teachers in having essentially low expectations. I get upset with kids if they're not working, and I have a little commercial. I call it a commercial. It's something I repeat frequently that I want to get a message across, which is that in remote learning, you're kind of responsible for your education. Like I'm not in your house. I can't check to see if you're doing the work. You could be writing nonsense on your page. I'm not there, but this is your life and this is your education. And I believe in you as a learner, and I believe that you care about chess, and I believe you're going to do this work. And I think that's the message you have to send. And if you're not willing to send that message, you're not going to get that kind of behavior. Again, I teach junior high school. I teach 11 to 14-year-olds, and I give them grades. So I accept that I have more mature students than some people, and also more carrots and sticks maybe than some people. But I feel really strongly that you have to expect children to do independent work, or they won't do it, in the end. All right. So that's sort of my PowerPoint. What I would love to ask everyone to do is play a Kahoot with me, right? I want to show you what a Kahoot is. So you can do this two ways. You can do this on your phone, or you can open another tab in your browser. It's usually more fun to do it on your phone though. So if you go to your phone and you open kahoot.it, I'll type it in the chat, kahoot.it. Oh, not to just put it to everyone. And I'm going to share, this screen with you. So if you go to kahoot.it, if you would enter this number, 99 46 637. So Kahoot is an amazing website. It's been around since 2013. And every child I introduce it to is like, oh, I love Kahoot. Because it's pretty widely used. Yay. And it makes any lesson into a game show, as you're about to see. It's gonna be fun. So how many people are we? 47. All right, I'll give you guys another couple minutes. You can join late. So don't worry if I start and you don't get in, and don't worry if you start your Kahoot and some of your students aren't in there, they can always join late. Of course, you do not have to join the Kahoot if you don't want to, but I promise you it's fun. I'm going to go ahead and start because I don't want to take up too much of the hour. If you haven't joined yet, it's no problem. You just go to kahoot.it and enter the number in the chat. The number will also be in the lower right-hand corner of my screen once I press start. So it's going to flash a question at you, and you'll have a predetermined amount of time to answer. So this one, you can select, this is a multi-select. So you're going to select as many as is true, what you think. Think, Pair, Share is a teaching technique that allows you to support struggling students, assess students, force friends to discuss your assignment with their friends, force students to discuss their assignment with your friends, create community and fun in your classroom. Now, you can set this to have one correct answer or multiple correct answers. You can set this anywhere from 10 seconds, which is ridiculous, you shouldn't do, to 4 minutes. And you can also, if you set it for 4 minutes, I set most of my things for the longest time because I can skip ahead if I want to and end the time early. The other nice thing about it is that when everyone in the class has answered, it will automatically skip ahead, so you don't waste time that way. Yeah, so the choices are on the computer screen, but you should also have buttons on your phone, let you pick. All right, so 3 of them are in fact true. It doesn't, oh, I'm sorry. You know what? It's like, I'm sorry, I changed, this is actually incorrect. I totally apologize. It doesn't really help you assess students, right? Because you don't know if a child got the answer or if it was in a breakout room. I apologize that this is, the answer is wrong. It's a little embarrassing. But there you go. It's going to show you the top 5 scores. This one I just threw in for fun. And also as an example of a very short time frame and how it feels to have a short amount of time. Well done, if you got that right. And you see on this screen how it rewards people for doing well. Can students share their screens in breakout rooms? I'm a little confused. I'm sorry. Sometimes Kahoot has a shows incorrect answers. And I definitely did not pick 2 of these. Shouldn't the answers? No, so you will only see the questions on the Zoom, and you will see the 4 answer choices on your phone usually. I'm not exactly sure what's going on here, because the correct answer is only if you let them, right? There's a setting where you can enable or disable them to annotate. I definitely did not pick 2 answers for this. I'm not sure why it's showing no. But you see the scoreboard, which is great. Mostly, of course, I do this for chess, and so I would be more likely to have a picture of a chessboard, and then you can do true false. You can have, if you do the free version of Kahoot, you get the 4 answer choices. Wait, so you will see on my Zoom screen the question, and you will see on your answer panel the color choices. But the question is only on my panel, I believe. So the question here is, right, does black have a move to save the game? Yes, most of the time they'll just have their phones, right? That's how I normally use it. So they're looking at their phone and then looking at the screen. It's easier than going back and forth between 2 tabs, right? So does black have a move that saves black here, or is it sort of unstoppable mate or losing the queen? Is there any way to put the questions in Kahoot? I'm not sure. Like I made this Kahoot last night, right? So I put the chessboard in. And here's a nice button called Show Media. So I usually go back and forth between Kahoot and ChessBase to show them the answers to the problem. But you can also click Show Media if it's just like a 1 move thing. Here, for example, black can save black's self with Queen G7, which is a weirdly hard move to see, right? Just allowing like King F8 if Knight F6. So I could press the this button. If it was more complicated, then I would just do new share, and I would go to my ChessBase screen, and I would say, okay, you know, Queen G7 here, and then there's nothing white can really do. If Knight F6, we'll just go here. And then I would go do a new share. I would go back to my Kahoot screen and click next. The triangles show who's been moving up. It'll tell you other nice things you can recognize, like answer streaks. Another puzzle, white's move in mate in 1. Here I gave everyone 90 seconds, which is much more, you know, you don't want to go too fast. It's real tempting to go fast, right? Because you want it to be kind of a fun, fast-paced lesson, but you also really want the kids to be thinking. And here, this is an example of one where you have to type the answer in. You have to pay as a teacher to do that. It's like $80 a year or something. It's not super expensive. But I love it because I don't always want to give the answer away, if you know what I mean. And here, for example, I'm gonna forward it at 30 seconds just to show you that I can. So if you want to answer this, put your answer in now. So I'm going to press skip. And we're going to see all the answers falling off the screen, all the incorrect answers. Sorry for German people who put D. And I put in a few different answer choices because I didn't know if, you know, if you don't know if they're going to put the plus sign. So you have to either give them explicit instructions about the notation if you're entering it that way. And then you can either, again, show media, or you can flip back to a ChessBase screen, which is what I would do if it was made in 2. But Queen G4 here, right, is made. And, you know, it shows the screen again. So again, it's rewarding kids who are doing well. This is our last one, and then I'll just show you the report at the end, and then I'll be done. And you can also share your Kahoots with other people. So maybe we can even get a group sharing going. One issue with entering moves is, if there are multiple variations, you can't have the kids enter too much because they do have to enter it exactly precisely. Like if they have a space in there, it's not going to work. So with mates in two, if there's multi-variations, I generally ask them to enter the first move. Here again, I put in 4 minutes, so we have a lot of time. I'm not going to use it all. So I'm going to forward this at, let's say 1:40, just to keep things moving a little bit. All right, if you want to put an answer in, put one in, I will forward it. I will press skip up here in just a second. Well done. And again, oh, thank you for entering the whole thing, but it's just the first move. And that is tricky and annoying at first because people, get upset. And here I would definitely, because it's a mate in two, go to ChessBase and share this screen. And we see that rook h5 threatens mate on h7. And if they take, we can play queen f6. And then last thing I want to show you is just the beautiful report. So it does a podium, which is nice, really a lot of social, what's that, Mikey? Social reward for doing well. Omar. And shows the runners up. But the nice thing is, as a teacher, I'm going to go to full report, make sure I stop sharing my screen, but it'll tell me in just a second how everyone did. It'll tell me what problems people had difficulty with. Maybe the problems had the wrong answers. But I can see everybody and I can see their percentages, and I can see how much time it took them to answer. I can click on questions and I can see, how did people do on the maiden one? And I'll know like what they put. So very useful feedback and really nice, because in a Zoom class, how often do you get to every student? Never, right? But here you really get to see what every student understands. So that's me. Thank you so much for your attention. I will, any questions, but maybe we'll take questions at the end. I want to hand it over to Andrew, who can not take too much more time. Thank you.
Thank you, Elizabeth. Get ready for Andrew.
Okay, so I'm ready to share. Okay, so if I share my screen. Now, I too would like to do something interactive, if I may. And I would like you, there will be chances to actually interact, especially via annotation tools. So if you know how to use Zoom and you can use the annotation tools, not yet, don't draw on the screen at the moment, but you'll get a chance to draw on the screen. So I'm going to model some of what I'm doing. So teaching chess online, mini games and more. I'm not just talking about Acornchess, I'm talking about teaching methods for teaching online and different situations. I started teaching chess professionally in 2014, and I had been teaching on a voluntary basis my kids and a whole load of clubs and things say a whole lot, several clubs before that. And I was asked the question by one of my fellow volunteers. I was asked the question, what makes chess teaching successful? And I thought about it, and I came up with a few things, and they've held true over all this time. And by successful, I don't mean financially successful. It's sometimes can be far from financially successful, some of these things, but successful in terms of the children actually learning something and getting something out of it. And so the two areas were content and delivery. And this probably overlaps with Elizabeth, although I've had no formal teacher training or anything. This is just my experience. And I thought there were three things in terms of content: relevant, realistic, and rewarding. And everything has to be relevant to the child, realistic for where they are, and rewarding in some respect, so they can see what they're achieving. We've just seen that on the Kahoot quiz. You know, people get their score, they can see where they are. Delivery. Well, the delivery is also important. It needs to be entertaining, enthusiastic, and encouraging. It's no good sort of like coming at them with a stick all the time. There has to be a lot of carrot. Enthusiastic children, you know, if you're not enjoying your own subject, then they'll pick up on that. And I'd like to challenge you perhaps to think, you know, in your own teaching, how is this true? Could it be better? I challenge myself, you know, is it true? Could it be better? I'm going to give some examples. I'd like you to have a think. Is this true? Could I be doing something better? I'd very much like to hear if you think I could be doing something better. So we move online. The same things apply, but in different ways. So whether we're teaching into classrooms, if very often, certainly in the UK, as a chess teacher, outside teachers aren't allowed in the classroom. So we have to teach remotely into the classroom with intermediary, with a teacher actually in the classroom relaying what we're saying. And that's how we're working for some of our schools in chess in schools and communities. And a lot of it then is remote learning. Also into classrooms, I'd say here, for instance, a holiday club I ran during relative lockdown. I actually had to sort of teach into a holiday club in a group with somebody sort of supervising that group. Remote learning, it could be different situations. So different teaching groups, they demand different things. Again, relevant for one group is not relevant to another. So whether you're teaching one-to-one, you might know your student, or you hopefully know your student already. An after-school club, a school curriculum class, that's where the whole class has to learn chess whether they want to or not, or be involved with chess activities, I should say, whether it's learning chess. Junior chess club, that could be again at different levels. I've taught beginners, but also up to sort of county level. Holiday clubs, I ran I've been involved for a couple of years with a chess and activity holiday club. And the idea is that we actually have half the day for chess and half the day for activities. So I go in with myself and other chess coaches, and we teach chess in a fun way in the mornings, and then they go off and do other activities in the afternoon with other coaches and things. And that's a great way. And we split into groups. So we're split into an Alekhine group, which is the top advanced group, a Botvinnik group, that's a relative beginners group, and if we've got enough children, we'll split into, also have a Capablanca group, and they're complete beginners. And how we teach will depend on the age and experience. Again, thinking what's relevant to them and what's realistic for those children. So this comes from thinking about the Capablanca group. So out of these holiday clubs came the request to run junior clubs during continually, rather than just the holiday clubs. And the Capablanca group then complete beginners. This is my first lesson. I'm thinking it's going to be even more important that children actually think about the coordinates on the board. So how can I do that? I can't get them to, and so what I did, and this is where I'd like you perhaps to use your annotation, so this is how I did it. I would say, okay, so could you find the X? So I use this to teach the tools as well. Right at the beginning of the course, teach the tools that they're going to use for in the Zoom for interaction. Can you find your toolbar of annotation, and I would like you to put an X, put a mark on the square H7. So he's going to be first to get square H7. Okay, we've got some people in there very quickly. Okay, E3. Okay, same people. Perhaps we can have somebody else. Let somebody else have a go. Those people have already had a go. So let somebody else have a go at this. Can we have C5, please? Who's not the people who've already tried? Someone else try C5. You can show us C5. Okay, yeah, great. So there's different ways you can do it, and so we can clear the annotation. So that's one of the things I'd use, and I would use the tools themselves. I'd teach the tools themselves at the beginning. I can encourage you to use Zoom's interactive tools like this. If you're teaching into homes in some way, use that. If you're teaching into a classroom, you can't use it in the same way. Okay, Diana, can I clear? Have I got permission to clear the annotations? Yes, I think I have. Good. Okay. Now, I was saying you can't use it in the same way in the classroom, so came up with the idea of perhaps a chess bingo instead. That might work, and handed the idea to Sean Marsh, and he made a complete game of it. Fantastic game called Chess Squares Challenge that he's tried out with CSC, based on a sort of chess bingo into schools. So that's where actually you can be teaching remotely, and they've got the class in front of you, and they're learning the squares, and they can get a bishop line and shout out bishop, or they can get a rook line and shout out rook on the board. Okay, so that's just one example. Now, in that lesson, we'd start off with making it fun, that learning like that. And by the end of the lesson, this is just the first lesson for the beginners, the Capablanca complete beginners, we would move on to a game. Okay, so this is probably about halfway through the lesson. Actually, we've done all sorts of other interactive, and we want to play a game. We want to leave a lot of time for actually learning by playing. And this is where I came across a problem, because I set it up in ChessBase. You can set up illegal positions, and I would get them to use the annotation like that. They could draw on the screen, so showing the move that they want to play, and get them to play against each other, for instance. And then, of course, you get your pawn to the other end of the board, which is the intention of this. You win. This is a mini game, example of a mini game. You win by getting a pawn to the other end of the board, or by capturing all your opponent's pawns. And you get a pawn to the other end of the board. Oh dear, what's this new thing? We only taught the pawn. What's this thing appearing on the screen? We haven't talked about queens and promotion. So I know some people sort of say, well, that's a trophy, but it was one example of something that was niggling me as I was teaching during the first lockdown. Okay, so mini games. You've just seen an example of a mini game. I have to watch my time, I think. I've seen an example of a mini game, and after a month or so of teaching that online, I actually had an email from Andrew Webb. This is where Acornchess comes in, because I had an email from Andrew Webb saying I've been working on this little app with the junior engine that plays at a junior level, and you can practice endgames with it, and it's I think it could do some mini games. And I think it was within minutes I was emailing him saying, can we talk on the phone? And we had a conversation, and well, we started the journey on Acornchess. But that's just one application, and I hope I'll have a little bit of time to share some of that. But if not, do have a look at acornchess.com to see about how to play mini games, a lovely app that we've developed which uses mini games and more. Okay, another game. So we get on to the learning about the king. This is several lessons in. I should say that most of the children I'm teaching here are probably aged about 7 to 10 years old, typically. And this is a king maze. This is actually from the old curriculum course from Chess in Schools and Communities, this one, but I built some other chess mazes. I've done had an activity in one club where we had the best chess maze competition, and they came up with new chess mazes. Great fun again. These are fantastic. The idea is that the king has to get to from E1 to B8. They don't know about check yet, but they do know how the king moves, and they know that the king cannot move to a square attacked by an enemy piece. So actually the lesson on the king, I start with another mini game. We start the whole lesson with a mini game. Just I say that the king can move one square in any direction. We play something called the starting position game, where the pieces have to get back to the starting position. And then at the end of the lesson, we do a king maze. Now, if I'm doing this in classrooms, I will do it interactively. They can get in as two, or even a whole table of them. I get some counters out and hand the counters out for them to show where the squares where it can't move and can move. And again, it's just great fun to do this. So the black pieces don't move here, and you have to find the quickest route. So here, you might put your counters on here to show that the king can't move there. One by one, they're eliminating those possibilities, and you finally get your answer, which I'll put in PowerPoint here, but is easier to do in Acornchess. I'm going to run out of time to do anything on Acornchess here, but I'll have to go quickly. Okay, here's another. So we move on again. Now we've got past the Capablanca stage. So I've had some of the groups, they've kept going after sort of taking up chess in the summer through the lockdown. They've kept going. We've got a Botvinnik, we've got a beginners group, and we're learning about different types of checkmate, how to checkmate. And again, I will ask them to show on the screen where the queen needs to move to. So you can draw an arrow on the screen, and we look here. I wouldn't usually illustrate. Okay, we've got some people. Yeah. So one possibility is another different possibility for the second one. Who can find another checkmate for the second one? Different one. The second option. Okay. Yeah. Okay. And the point is, you can use counters again. You can use different things. So well done to those that found the checkmates. Red bits showed where the king can't move to at the moment, and the green was where it could move to. Well, we make sure it's check and that the king can't move to those squares. And I call these a bit unconventional. I call it guardian angel checkmate and a build a wall checkmate. The point is that the king's building a wall in the second one, and there's all sorts of build a wall checkmates like back ranks and things. That came up with this idea after a certain president was talking about this sort of thing. And the guardian angel checkmate. Well, you can get the other side to build it for you. You don't have to build it yourself sometimes. Anyway, so the guardian angel checkmate. You've got your guardian angel there protecting the piece, and obviously you've got a whole different class of checkmates here that can be built out of this. Okay, so interesting that Elizabeth was talking about discovered attacks, because this is something, well, I will actually talk about Acornchess, because I was planning on doing some lessons with some kids that come out of one of the Botvinnik groups. They a couple of friends who actually couldn't carry on with the Botvinnik group themselves, but they wanted to carry on, so the parents were paying for me to continue with them both. They were both good friends, and it's one of those days, if you're a professional chess coach, it's one of those days where I've got another job. My morning job had overrun. I had to go into an extra meeting with the managers. I then had a phone call that I had to deal with about another issue about school. And I had about 15 minutes or something like that, less than half an hour to prepare my lesson. And I was meant to be doing it on discovered checks. So what do I do? Well, okay. This is where Acornchess really came to the fore, because Andrew Webb had just put in the new facility to put in custom libraries, and he put in some tactics library, and there was a whole load of discovered checks there. So with these two good friends, I ran this little competition. I said, well, find a discovered check. You can annotate on the board as people have done there. If you get it right, you'll get 1 point. If you get it wrong, you'll get -1 point. And at the end, you know, the tally between these two friends of this series of different discovered checks, they ended up exactly equal, but it's just a bit of fun. They enjoyed doing that and learning that way. Okay, I also actually used some material from Richard James. He's got some excellent material on called Chess for Heroes, and just teaching it spells out very clearly how to look for different tactics. Chess for Heroes, I use that quite a bit as well. Okay, so how much time we got? Right, I'm going through very quickly. Okay, I'm going to clear the drawings again. Now, let's talk about the next level. So teaching at schools. So teaching after school chess clubs now I'm talking about, and sometimes a little bit older, but children that really want to play chess, but it's not into homes necessarily, or if it is into homes, it's run on behalf of the school. And one of the things I teach, I absolutely love teaching king and pawn endgames. And I love teaching mutual zigzag positions. And I don't ask the question, I ask the question here, I ask the question, is this a win for white or a draw? And I'll get them to chat me the answer. So let's see, you know, you've chat the answer, is this a win for white or a draw? Is this a win for white or a draw? Anybody gonna put in the chat? Chat the answer. So yeah, somebody says a draw, somebody says, so, okay, excellent. This is the answer I want. So some people actually say draw, some people say win. The answer is whose move is it? And I want the kids to actually answer the question with a question, whose move is it? And I'll train them, I'll try and encourage them, and I'll show things like the trebuchet position, whose move is it? In a king and pawn endgame, we want to be thinking about those tempi. We want to get to this position with our opponent to move. So whose move is it? Most important position. And then, you know, once you've got these building blocks, you can work back from that. And I did ask in the, I'll come on, I'll try to get on to actually start showing something from Acornchess. Aren't mini games only for beginners though? Well, I would like to say no. Okay, they're very good for beginners, but actually they can be used at a much higher level. This is a bishop maze. You have to get the bishop to a square where it's going to check the king. The other pieces don't move. This is a very simple version. This is a beginner level. But some of these, if you're familiar with Brice Alberston's chess mazes books, some of them get quite complicated. I've taught children starting to play at a junior international level, and I love teaching them. One of my favorite subjects at that level is improving the worst placed piece and having complete board vision. How am I going to maneuver my piece to get to the square over here? I'm going to have to move it back again. These chess mazes actually teach you something about board vision and about maneuvering pieces around without having to play a full game. And so obviously you do have to then go into the full game and you think about the opponent's pieces, but they're very useful for that. And just one more example. This is from Oxfordshire Junior Squad Club. So this is county level, and we've got a few England level players as well. And I jokingly said, started the title when I represented England at chess. I've never ever been a good enough chess player to play at England level. By the time I was 18, I might have represented at under 7 level, you know, as I'm only about 1800. But I did actually represent England as a manager of a junior team back in 2017. And I was fascinated by this game on the top board. And so this is partway through the presentation I was doing with the OJs. And I should say that the moves at the beginning there, that's showing how it's moved on from the previous position in the PowerPoint to get to this position. And then I asked for them in the chat to say, what's the next, you know, what's this first step that's happening and what might the next step be? And I will choose from the chat answers. I'll say, well, I'll feed back as they come in. I'll say, well, Shira, have you thought about this you know, can you explain a little bit more? And they chat to me privately, and then I feed back, and then I'll choose one or two of them, say, right, would you like to explain it on the board? Would you like to explain to everybody? What's this got to do with mini games? Well, it's not quite the same game, but actually you can illustrate something quite useful with this just by playing with the bishop against the pawns and then put the kings back in. And so the England level players are going to understand already without having to put, you know, start with a mini game, but to explain some of the concepts to those at lower county level, actually starting with the mini game is very helpful. So I am going to have to finish, and I haven't had time to show you anything on Acornchess. But, okay, I'm done.
Thank you very much, Andrew. It was very nice presentation from both of you. I hope you can hear me.
Yes, can hear
yes,
you. Can hear
thank you. Thank you very much. And any question? Because we have still 2 minutes. Otherwise, I can share the song that we made during the pandemic, chess song that we made during the pandemic for our chess students to cheer them up before the lesson. And it would be great if I can share my screen right now. Yes, now I'm back. Very good. And yes, I got it. And get ready.
Yeah, it goes black and white. Everyone come unite and shake your hands with pride. I got chess on my mind. Just grab your chessboard, fun down to your chess court. Here we do not get bored, we just love the fair sport. And it goes queen, king, rooks, knights. Yeah, we have a good time. Bishops and pawns, if you lose, move on. But here we are a team, and everybody wins. It's all about having fun, so clap your hands and sing from A to H. Yeah, 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 yeah. From 1 to 8. Yeah, 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 yeah. It's about fairness and respect. Hey, you can put them checkmate. Sing it one more time and then you can start to play. And it goes queen, king, rooks, knights. Yeah, we have a good time. Bishops and pawns, if you lose, move on. But here we are a team, and everybody wins. It's all about having fun, so clap your hands and sing from A to H. Yeah, 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 yeah. From 1 to 8. Yeah, 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 yeah.
Thank you very much. I hope that you liked our presentation. Thank you very much to Elizabeth and Andrew. And I hope see you again on another Congress. And in between, take care.